Jurassic World Rebirth is making its way closer and closer to July 2nd. We're now less than 3 months away, and yet we still have so many questions that need to be addressed. I'm sure a lot of them will be talked about and explained in the movie itself, but here on the channel, you already know that we explain these things to get us more hyped for the movie and to theorize about what might come along within the movie before it releases. Besides, it's always fun to speculate about this type of stuff and see if it comes true later on. So today, I want to address something that's been playing on my mind for quite some time now. Of course, as we know from a heavily used quote from the movie, these dinosaurs on Rebirth Island are supposed to be the worst of the worst and the originals for the original park. Now we've already spent ages trying to see how that fits into canon without breaking the current continuity. Be sure to watch those videos for important details. But the idea of these dinosaurs being almost 50 years old doesn't sit right with many of us. But as we've established, it's only right for them to be between 47 to 50 years old without breaking the canon, and if these creatures were made for the original park. So why do so many of them look quite normal? Did they really perfect these creatures first time? If so, what was the point of bringing in Dr. Wu for InGen in 1982? Just use your original scientists. Well, if you asked any of those questions, then you're certainly not alone. However, there's one running theme that I have noticed within these designs of the dinosaurs that seems to stick out a lot to me and more than most. And I believe this is to be the best way to explain which dinosaurs are nearly 50 years old and which dinosaurs are relatively newer. So once you're subscribed and liked the video, it's time to explain the differences between the old and newer dinosaurs of Jurassic World Rebirth. So based off my previous videos, the community is pretty much in agreement that the D.Rex, or this weird mutant horrified dinosaur looking thing, should be nearly 50 years old now. We've explained this in great detail in previous videos of mine, so I highly recommend going and watching those ones. But to basically give a brief summary, based off the timeline and the continuity and everything that we do know about Rebirth and the rest of the franchise basically, it seems like this dinosaur should have been born in the late 1970s, and therefore since Jurassic World Rebirth takes place in 2028, that is nearly 50 years old. And the majority of us are in agreement that it only makes sense for the D.Rex to be born 50 years ago, but at the same time we've also played around with the theory that maybe they're being lied to and all of the dinosaurs on Rebirth Island are instead made after the fall of Jurassic World, in between the events of Jurassic World and Jurassic World Dominion, because there's nearly a 10-year time gap between that. Maybe even these dinosaurs were just placed there by governments who don't want them on their land. So we've also played around with that theory, but today we're going to be focusing on the 50-year-old D.Rex theory that we've come up with. It just looks ugly, it looks deformed, and it is definitely a failed creation of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. You can kind of see that in its design. You can see where the Tyrannosaurus Rex, or at least the lower part of the T-Rex, like the underjaw and the underbelly, is supposed to be on the D.Rex, but you can also see the two front claws as well. So this thing, yeah, it's definitely a failed creation of some sorts. But the big obvious feature of this dinosaur, despite it having very weird limbs, it's its beluga styled head. That's what actually sticks out the most to people. When you look at this creature, the very first thing that you look at is pretty much the bulky head. It looks like a beluga. So we're going to have to wait and see about how and why the beluga styled head came into effect for the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I believe Goji Center also made a really good video describing it. But without a doubt, that's its main feature that everybody looks at. That thing just doesn't sit right on top of its head. It actually feels more like a disease that's growing on top of this creature that shouldn't really be. Yet it also makes the dinosaur stand out. I mean, sure, you could make the Tyrannosaurus Rex basically look the same, just have extra limbs, but that wouldn't make it look as original as the D.Rex does with its head. So keep that in mind for this theory. But yeah, so we've already established that its current age has to be between the years of 45 and 50 years old, and that's only if this was a failed first experiment trying to create the Tyrannosaurus Rex. So where exactly am I going with this? Well, thanks to the companies of Uno and Dr. Pepper, they've gone ahead and released their Jurassic World Rebirth designs that are showcased on their products. And this basically gives us more looks at the designs of the other creatures of the movie. Not quite all of them, but a lot of them. And a lot of them kind of resemble a similarity with the D.Rex. More specifically, the Titanosaurus. The Titanosaurus up close is probably best suited for this example of this theory that I'm about to give you. When you take a look at this massive sauropod creature, one of the designs for this specific dinosaur has a massive head lump on its head that looks a lot like a more toned down version of the D.Rex's lump on its head. These two creatures, whilst they are completely different creatures, one of them looks more complete and the other one obviously looks more like a mess, but they both have this weird bulge on their head. So how does this connect in any way? Well, since we are judging that the D.Rex is between 45 and 50 years old if it was a failed first experiment, the Titanosaurus is a creature that's estimated to live up to around 100 years in age. So if you were to think about this logically, this dinosaur in this movie may actually be one of the very few creatures that makes sense to be one of the original made dinosaurs from the late 1970s, since it could very well easily live to the year of 2028, which is when this movie is set, therefore explaining why the Titanosaurus has a massive lump on its head. It's not quite perfect, but it's pretty much a it will do type of dinosaur. But then you might be thinking, how does this explain the other dinosaurs of the movie? Well, taking a look at some of them, and more specifically the Tyrannosaurus Rex, something just isn't quite right with this dinosaur, and you can see that in its design, it is different than to what we're used to seeing in the franchise. Sure, more or less it's pretty much the same, but its head does have a different design. I theorize this to be because the Tyrannosaurus Rex we are currently seeing in this model may be a third generation Tyrannosaur, and over time, its genetics has allowed it to decrease the size of the lump on its head. Now sure, I get it, Rexy was born in 1988 and it's currently 2022 when we last saw her alive, so yes, maybe it might not be third generation, but even still, it might even be a second generation Rex, or maybe it is a third generation and the parents have just died off or something. But the model of this Tyrannosaurus Rex clearly shows that the head is a little more lumpy than to what we're used to seeing for this specific dinosaur species. Furthermore, the Ankylosaurus, shown on the Dr. Pepper can, another dinosaur that could be maybe 3 to 4 generations old from the late 1970s. This dinosaur also looks to have a slightly more deformed head in its 3D model that will eventually be used for the movie, and it doesn't look as well or as perfect as to the Ankylosauruses we are used to seeing in the Jurassic franchise. So this seemingly confirms a theory of mine even more. But as for the creatures like Spinosaurus, Mosasaurus and Quetzalcoatlus, they don't have any of these lumps, but I've already explained those in some previous videos which are very good and hard worked videos, so I do recommend checking those ones out for an explanation. But dinosaurs like the Velociraptor, well, we're just going to have to wait and see for that one specifically, but I'm sure that'll be explained in the movie since they do look remarkably similar to the Isla Sorna dinosaurs. Either way, I believe this theory to make a lot of sense. Dinosaurs like the D.Rex and Titanosaurus, expected to be nearly 50 years old in age, have that really big lump. But dinosaurs with the Tyrannosaurus and Ankylosaurus, they do have a lump on their head, but it's not as big as the Titanosaurs nor the D.Rexes. So I do think that it's kind of showing us the age of these dinosaurs and proving that life does find a way, and these dinosaurs have been thriving on this island for nearly 50 years now. So yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth has a lot on its plate to deal with. That's why a lot of us lore-embedded fans are very concerned about the movie and how all of this lore will be handled. Although we thought the exact same thing about Jurassic World Dominion, and that ended up being the best lore-written movie of the franchise. So maybe we don't really have anything to worry about when it does come to Rebirth. Either way, I'm doing my best to explain all of these things before the release to encourage more people to go see the movie and not to be so put off it. If you have any questions, then go ahead and take a look through the channel for a video answering your question, but if I haven't made a video on your topic just yet, then go ahead and post it below for us to try and answer. Be sure you're subscribed to the channel to help us out, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, but most importantly, make sure you're all staying safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye. Hey, did you enjoy the video? Well, why not leave a like and subscribe for more Jurassic content? I appreciate every single one of you for reaching this point into the video and supporting me this far. If you wish to support me even further, then feel free to head on down to the description where you can find links to donate, my Patreon, and you can also press that join button to become a member here on YouTube and gain access to some awesome emojis. A massive thank you to all of the YouTube members for this month, as well as the amazing fans over on Patreon too. Your extra bit of support really goes a long way. But for now, I wish you a great rest of your day.